In the past couple of years, negative narratives against Latino immigrants have become very popular. We see it in every news channels. Horror stories about immigrants coming, bringing crime, drugs. Not only that, but we see negative stereotypes being used to describe the Latino population and Latino immigrants coming to the US. Now, to say that those stereotypes were just created a couple of years ago is a huge misunderstanding. If we're completely honest, those negative stereotypes against Latino immigrants have been around for decades now, and we see them everywhere. From TV shows to movies, cartoons for adults, music videos, etc. We see this negative narrative against Latino immigrants. However, as a Latino immigrant myself, born and raised in Mexico City, I do believe that those stereotypes do not describe accurately most of the Latino immigrants coming to the US, legal or illegally. I do believe that immigration is an important issue that should be discussed in the US, and people should talk about it. However, it is important and vital to talk about any issue based on facts and reality. Today, I want to talk about the most common Latino stereotypes that exist in the media and the actual facts and reality that is in that stereotype. One of the biggest, most popular narratives is that the number of Latino immigrants coming to the US is the highest we have ever seen, and there's so many coming is actually insane. When it comes in terms of actual numbers, there were 56.5 million Hispanics in the US in 2015, accounting for 17% of the actual population of the US. In the 80s, with a population of only 14.8 million, Hispanics only created 6.5% of the American population. So what do all those numbers mean? It basically means that the Latino immigrant population did increase from the 90s to 2007, but then decrease significantly after increasing for 4 decades. The share of the Hispanic population that is foreign-born began declining after 2000. According to the data, narratives about overpopulating is simply not true. We see that illegal immigrants actually have been decreased from the 90s to now, from 2007 to 2018. Another stereotype of Latino immigrants is that they are the underserving immigrants, basically saying that Latino immigrants are criminals, gang members, drug dealers, and do not deserve to live in the US because they're only gonna bring pain and crime. One of the main researchers that talked about a lot of Latino immigrants and what they are doing in the US is Robert G. Sampson. He examined really violent crimes that were made both by female and male. And of course, what he found was a really low rate of crimes were made by Mexican American immigrants. It was 45% less likely for a Mexican immigrant to or a Latino immigrant to commit any crime. There is actually not real evidence linking Mexican immigrants or undocumented Mexican immigrants to specifically violent crimes or drug-related crimes. Another common misconception is that Latino women are portrayed as more fertile. Now, I do believe that this stereotype has stemmed 100% from the media that is around us. Latinas are overly sexualized, and so there's this narrative that says that if a Latina woman comes here, she's gonna populate with little Mexicans and take over the country. And it is a very negative stereotype because it's not only objectifies women just based on their race, but also is saying that Latino women just have more kids to overpopulate and take over the country. To many studies, actually Latinas are less likely to start their sexual life before the age of 14 and versus American women, both white and Latinas, they start their sexual life a little earlier than Latinas young women. On average, white women were more likely to begin their sexual life in the earlier stages, and also Latinas were less likely to have more than 3 love partners, again versus Americans, white and Latina women. However, all Latinas aged between 18 and 44 had an average of 1.75 children, while all white women of the same age had 1.63. So what does this mean? This basically means that yes, Latinas do have more kids than white Americans women. However, it's not because of something biological, as a lot of media and news have said. It's actually just some culture tradition that has been passed from generation to generation. However, this is not to say that there's not Latina immigrants, including myself, that do not want to have kids or do not want to have more than 2 or 1 kids. It really does depend on the way they were educated about sexual relationships and sexual partners, but there's nothing biological saying that Latinx women have more kids or less kids than white women. It's just a culture education. Again, whatever your opinion about immigration is, I respect it and I'm not trying to change it. I am just trying to educate more about the real statistics that are going around in the world. There's so much negative narrative that is based in fear that is so important for us, our new generation, to educate ourselves and to search for real statistics and real graphics and real studies to make an opinion not based on fear, but based on compassion and studies. That being said, I do think that having a conversation that is based on knowledge and the real facts will benefit not only America, but everyone that has that conversation. And it is vital to have that with compassion as well, to understand everyone's different background and their reality and what they are doing to the US. I didn't want to talk a lot about the benefits that actually immigrants all over the world, not only Latinas, has created in the US, but I do encourage you to study a little bit more about Latino immigration facts versus reality, and not only that, but also immigrants all around the world, not only Latino, maybe Arab immigrants or Chinese immigrants, etc. There's so many negative narratives, and they are mostly not true, and it is important for people to know and understand the facts. I also do understand that it might seem hard and not fair that we need to basically fight for the truth and do our own research, because media platforms and the news do not tell us exactly the reality of the situations. But I think that the more people educate themselves, the easiest will be to have a conversation about the reality, and it would be easier for people to understand and educate themselves about what's happening in the US and what is happening with Latino immigrants in the US. So I hope you guys like this video. I again encourage you to study more and encourage you to educate yourself, have a conversation based on respect and knowledge and facts.